Hello, this is Kristina, your host today, and it's a new episode of KSM Podcast Growing Business Online with Kristina. And I'm super happy to have today my special guest speaker, Lady Lea Sparrow, far away from US. Leah, welcome to our show today.
Thank you for having me today, Christina.
And thank you for joining me. And Leah, tell us a little bit about you. Introduce yourself.
I am, most people would call me a business coach, but specifically I'm a business growth strategist. So I help a business owner not become a social media manager, but become the owner of their business and make decisions in their business and understand where to invest properly in their business so that they can work less and their business works for them and they can live their life. It's, I believe, the owner of the business has a different lifestyle than the employee of the business. So I think that we wear a lot of hats as solopreneurs, and I feel like we need to understand where we can pull back on the reins. We don't necessarily have to do all the things all the time. And I think before we started this podcast, we did a little bit of a talk about, slowing down or taking a look at what you want to do now in your business and how we started to understand through our journey. So I think it's one of those things that if I had somebody there, which I did happen upon her a little bit later, but I wish I'd found her sooner, which was my mentor. But it's like, if only I had found that person that told me something different a little sooner. But I think it's necessary that you go through the chaos. I do, so that you can figure out what it is you want in your business.
Yeah, and this is so true, and we are all in that stage to on different level of our
Hmm.
businesses, and there are people who just are pivoting or start something, running new business, or they wanted to change something or just to move on in online space. They're
Hmm.
still in offline, but they all also need something to be in online because people need some to know about you, I think
Hmm.
in general, not just thinking, I'm not thinking only of talking about it about you only, just yeah. And yeah, this is very, very interesting. And I really love what you do because you are so experienced. And what I know, you were a little bit your background, maybe just that from you were in publishing. No, it's like a
Broadcasting.
broadcasting. Yeah. And
Mhm.
can you share with us, for our audience, about it and your experience?
A lot of,
Just
people
a
have found
few
out.
words, sentences, however.
People have found out I used to be on radio. There is a drawback to having this voice. Some people think that it's actually AI because I can really turn it on. But radio was a situation where we were told what to say and when and for how long because it was more about getting people into the spot break. But at the same time, what's really weird about having been in radio, I did all levels. I did, on-air personality, newscaster, the production director. I did all the ads. I produced. I did, I was the operations manager, which is basically the owner's right-hand man. I hired and fired people, went through the whole 9 yards, did the budget, all kinds of crap. But the biggest, weirdest thing about radio is I was on the side. What they called us on-air staff, but we were the marketing side. We were actually lead gen. We went to the place that was paying for the ads. We went there to get people to come to us so that we could give them their t-shirt and to get them through the door for the business. And there's a lot of tie to that into social media that I've found from my experience through radio as well as my experience as being a business owner because I started out with independent contractor working through some companies and then eventually I went out and decided to, just have my own business online.
This is this and this is really amazing as experienced speaker and director and editor in your like broadcasting career. And how when you shifted that, what triggered you to start your business and your business journey? And we're going to talk about more a little bit later today.
Really, honestly, I think my mom had always said when I was growing up that I had more of a business mind. My father wanted me to be a lawyer, but my mom was like, no, she's really got a business mind. And I thought she was insane. But I think that what happened, the universe gives us the kick in the ass that sometimes we need. And I had a situation where I was severely ill and had to go back to work. I had to come off of disability, and I had a toddler age child, and I had to go back to work. Well, while I was, making basically poverty level. I mean, yes, I worked in broadcasting, but it was poverty level wages. It was poverty level wages. And I was a female, so I was paid a lot less. I know I was because, like I said, I did the budget, so I saw how much everybody like you son of a um so I mean, but when I was sitting there watching radio and we were this was I was in radio in the beginning back in the 90s, and that's when we started doing the stream online with the websites and stuff. We realized we could go live. And the thing is when I look back at that, when we start to build our own businesses, we want to run our businesses like that. I mean, when we did our audio, we clicked audio in less than 3 minutes, because our spot breaks were no longer than 3 minutes. And we had to get that clip out there, done. No perfection. Perfection was just, that was not even a consideration. It was more get it done. And when you carry over that mindset of get it done, go, 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 and try to put it into a business where you're the main feature, you're the only, you're the solopreneur, you're going to burn yourself into the ground, and you really have to pull back. So, I mean, when I started out, I did some independent contractor work, and I wanted to be home for my son. And I was in debt, $50,000 worth of debt. And I just looked for something where I could get some cash. And it turned out to be teaching online, and started there, waited a while before I started becoming booked. And I started becoming booked so quickly that all I had to do was open a slot and I was booked like as soon as I would open it. And people started coming to me asking me, how in the world are you doing it? And all I was doing was taking the experience from broadcasting and knowing how to brand things into people's head. That's what branding is branding things into people's head. It's not pretty colors and logos. It's the constant, in America, we have a duck that says Aflac. That's branding. McDonald's arches, they constantly throw it in your face. It's a constant repetition. You constantly throw it in their face to get them to remember and hook on. So this was the same thing I saw when I was teaching online as well. I saw how they sold them and how they were telling us how to book people. It had nothing to do with the actual education of the student. It had everything to do with selling that courseware. I had issue with that as I started investigating and looking into more and more businesses. And as we started going into COVID, and I saw more businesses do a nosedive from success. They couldn't handle the amperage of success. It burned the engine out. So they had to shut down. And watching businesses that were successfully scaling and seeing them do a shift in leadership. All of these things made me say, I figured out how to start building my own business, but at the same time, I hear a lot of bullshit. And we tend to be told that this is the one thing, so we try to do all the things. And when I started my business, I said, especially in the independent contractor aspect, I was really hungry for money. We get into that mode. So we start going at it, going at it to make that cash. And I was making consistent cash. I mean, this was a very good income for me. And when I first started, I started getting ready for, preparing and all that kind of stuff. And it was taking all day long to prepare. And I was like, I'm not doing this shit all day long. I want to be done by the last class. And the class is ended at 9 a.m. So I got done at 9 a.m., had the rest of the day to do whatever the heck I wanted to. And I was at my son's football games. I was at my son's basketball games. My son was the circle of my world. I was also out riding horses and teaching people how to ride and doing all kinds of fun stuff while making steady cash. But the problem was is I was working longer hours than I wanted to because they were paying you minimum wage. So I wanted to take control of that again. I mean, in radio, I was still making freaking minimum wage and being told what to say, when to say it, and how long to say it, and who to say it to. And then here we come. I'm doing an independent contractor job, same freaking scenario. So I said, you know what? I've learned enough. I want to make my own business, and I started. And I remember when I made my first 10K months. I didn't even realize I did it because I was too busy focusing on how do I want this to work for me and seeking out the mentorship to reach those goals. Did I have some bad mentors? In my opinion, yes, they were not a match for me. Did they still help me? Oh, yeah, I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot.
Yeah, and when you mention mentor, we all need when we wanted to start something and shift something in our life, especially in a business mode, that we need mentor if we cannot work alone. We need someone to show up and to help us. But as you mentioned, bad mentors, but there are
Well,
different
I
of
think
them.
it's
No, there's too much.
well, there's also an aspect, and I'm gonna say it. One of the things that I saw in the online space, because I've watched Facebook since the day Facebook said, "Hey, we are online and we're gonna start doing some fuckery today." Um, and of course the radio station wanted to figure out how to make money off of it. Of course it did. Every business wanted to figure out how to make money off of it. Every single solitary one, which is reasonable. I mean, can you not see why a business would want to jump on there on social media and things? I mean, the social media amps growth incredibly. The conversion rate is higher on social media, but it's also draining in some aspects. And I think we go through stages in business, especially right now. I see people wanting to slow down. I think COVID brought along a lot of chaos. So what we have is a lot of coaches that got a lot of success over the past 5 years. And now they're sharing their strategy for building a business and they say this is the only way to do it. And that just tells me they did this one thing to get there and they think it's all of these things and that's the only way to make money in business. But they cannot sit down and look at somebody's business model and say, this is how you can improve it. And that's the problem I see with a lot of coaches is there's too much this is the only way rigidness instead of, hey, you know what? Let's take a look at the pros and cons of these strategies and determine right now what you're capable of doing. Because a lot of solopreneurs starting out, they have no business starting a website. They have no business starting a website. They don't have the cash in the business to begin with. And it's a lot to manage. First, they need to figure out how am I going to sell and how do I like to sell before they start pouring money into things that they don't know whether or not that's something useful for their business. They're just doing it because somebody else said to. And then we end up still booking clients and doing really, really well with that. And what most of these people, most of these coaches will tell you, and I noticed it with my own clients. That's why I was like, I need to do something about this. I don't like this. A lot of people go through those services where they make the big promise of getting fully booked in X amount of time and so on and so forth, or make 50K, days. But they don't tell you what happens after that. People lose steam. It's not sustainable. It's not.
This is so true. I mean, when people are not so sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you mentioned that we just wanted to move in online space, and when you started that, and you were so experienced in radio in terms that you mentioned how to
Yeah,
earn
but I was
cash,
also
how
being
to do
told what
it.
to do. It was not my business, right? I was getting a paycheck just being told what to do. I mean, I understood the concept of what we were doing, but I didn't really, 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 really tune into it until I got onto social media and went, well, shit, this is what we did in radio. And it started clicking for me what we were, it's literally pushing buttons, pushing people's buttons to get them to respond and do a certain thing. It's that. And that's what radio does. We push buttons to get people to react. All we wanted you to do was tune in and listen. All we wanted you to do was keep listening all day long, which is exactly what social media wants. That's exactly what YouTube wants. Keeps feeding you the reels over and over and
And
over.
when you started your business, how did you feel? You mentioned you wanted to earn cash, you need to support your son and all those kind of things.
Oh, I was so
But
worried.
because you start your own business journey and through that experience, because as you mentioned, were paycheck like as a contractor on working on
Mhm.
radio, but you had a also opportunity to see how it works, and you had such a big experience in that.
It
Either
took
that
a
you
little
were
bit to realize it because I think we get caught up in our own little idea of how it should be. And one thing that clicked for me was, wait a minute, in radio, we didn't sit there and do all the whiz bangs. I mean, we already had, and also the big thing was we already had our templates, our sound beds, all the sound effects and stuff already ready to go. So from that aspect and growing a business, it took a little bit to go backwards and go, well, what's my actual first steps? Because in radio, it's like, ta-da, business, you get a paycheck, just come in here and do what we say. And then when you start an independent contractorship and you're working for another company, it's still the same thing. Ta-da, we're bringing the people to you. They were lead generating for me. My job was to get that student to stay on with me. And that's marketing. You have to market through those courses to get the student to continue to stay on with you. So I learned from that as well, because that's the equivalent to what we do online when we're selling our services. Is we sit there and we let them know, look, this is what is doable right now, and this is what we'll be doing next. And I think a lot of people miss out on that, and we focus too much on trying to provide a huge result in a short amount of time. And for me, I learned that through the online teacher space is, you can only ask your client so much before their brain goes, I can't do this. And then with radio and watching and then learning more and more about business online, it takes a moment for you to realize that your knowledge can be transferred into the online space very easily if you just think about it for a second. Um, because like for example, in radio, we talk about niche. Do you know of a radio station that's successful that plays all the music? Classical and jazz and Eminem and no, they're either playing, hip hop or pop or classical. They're all honed in on a specific genre of music. That's niche. And at the same time, a certain type of person listens to that kind of music, so your ads are representative of that. I learned that sort of thing in radio, but it took me some time to really grasp it. And I think when it really came into play was when I was using the branding method that I was taught through radio inside the teaching company to make sure that the students stayed on with me. Not only did I sit there and, make sure I engaged them and helped them and, all that, but I also inside the chat, they gave us a name to search us by to make it easier for the student to find us. So I gave him the name to search me by. It was not like Lea Sparrow. It was like, Lea MMW kind of stuff, right? And I would say, hello, Lea MMW. And even on the screen, love you, Lea MMW, all that kind of stuff. Everywhere they looked, that was my name. So when they went to go search for a teacher, who did they go to search for? Even in the background, it had my name. That's just like your background, you've got the KSM podcast. It's just, I've got my name down in the corner. That's constantly reminding somebody. I told people when I first, even when I was working with online teachers, I told them everywhere I go, look for the bird.
And I just want to only one question for the radio, because what do you think when you were working there and you have your contract? So did you feel that have some kind of, let's say, boundaries, but when you start your business, you have much more to think about how to create, how to move. And do you think that you started being more creative for your business? Because you have only like a template, what you are going to do it on radio, because you don't work for
Well,
yourself.
honestly, I think that for me, I'm a content creator anyway, because even when I was working in radio, I had businesses coming to me asking me to make like business cards and other kinds of swag and also terms and conditions for them and also doing office work for them. I did all kinds of different stuff with different types of businesses, but for the most part, it was literally helping them market their business. Although back then it was more like flyers and stuff. Yes, I'm that old, people. It was more like flyers and stuff. But when something like, PowerPoint and then Keynote and oh my God, Canva came along, I was like, woo! But the thing is, here's the thing that I noticed about it is that, yeah, you can have all of this freedom to create and stuff, but you can still go and get bogged down in the crap that actually is the shit sandwich that you have to eat to make it work. And that actually makes you avoid it. Now, do I think all business owners need to be content creators? No, no, no. Um, I think that you need to be you and be able to communicate your services in the way a business owner would communicate their services. A business owner is not going to sit there and be like, "Hi, make 20K in 5 months and you'll be a superhero star and watch you go, you rock star of an entrepreneur." I mean, it's just no. Business owners don't run into a room doing an ad.
This is
They
so
just
true,
They
100%.
during network events, they
Yes.
talk about the ideas, the things that they've discovered while they're working with their clients or through their services at business networking events. They don't, this is where I've gone to networking events, and there's a difference between the networking events I've been on social media and the networking events where I've been with corporate level people. And corporate level people or successful entrepreneurs, they are because some people are like, oh, corporate, it's different from entrepreneurs. Well, an entrepreneur made the corporation, so there's that. But I'm talking about people that have like a full-blown business. We're talking about like Edward Jones and things like that, well-known businesses. And they don't sit and talk about what they drank that day or their favorite whatever, or some of the stuff that they do in some of these network events. They talk about business. They talk about trends. They talk about how to make money. They talk about money. It's what they talk about and how to grow it. And I think if we can shift our mindset around that, that's not being greedy. That's talking about ideas and how to create wealth. You'll notice that successful entrepreneurs do not give out their advice for free. I'll tell you everything that I teach my clients inside my services. I do. But at the same time, I also know that I can tell you the perfect strategy, but then you have to go implement it. And every plan falls apart when it's in progress. It doesn't matter how perfect it is. Why? Because we can't plan on life. These are things I learned by working in radio when I was working sick as a dog and how we navigated all that, how we navigated when the tower went down. So when you get bogged in the content creation aspect of things, you've got all that other chaos too. You've got to make sure that your equipment, we had the whole, time. I sprung forward and Kristina was like, "Oh, I did not realize, I'm so sorry." And it happens, right? I mean, she lives in a different place in the world. I can't expect her to know what time it is in my country. But we also have the bigger moments when Zoom decides it needs to make an update and it takes 3 hours and you were supposed to get on with a client that day. There's those things. So you have to have this freedom if you are a content creator where you can get out of the house and go enjoy life so you can bring that inspiration back into your studio or your blog or your book or whatever. Because content is not created through staring at the screen. But those that aren't content creators, if you're, say, like, a health coach, for example, go study your expertise and share that with people. Share what you've discovered. Share your case studies, share your experiences. You don't have to teach people, you have to show them. That's what a business owner does. They show people, look at this, like the guy that came by my house that does landscaping, he had pictures of all of his work before and after. That's what sold for him. I mean, just as simple as that. Did he have a big video and, here's how we do all the stuff and the fancy video on his website? No, he just had a scrolling of pictures. Here's before and after. Look, I did this project. That's a business owner talking about his business, not a social media manager or content creator.
Thank
So it
you
just
for
depends
sharing
on
that.
how you want to run your business, really.
And this is something what we do as a entrepreneurs, leaders in our business, uh, building some kind of our personal branding in some way. When people connect what you do, either that you
Yeah, I
man
mean, that's the
just
thing is
scrolling
you are the
pictures,
business.
you need it's not only just pop up and create some such a
Right.
fancy video or fancy image photo and move it. You need to be engaged with that to feel it.
Yeah, you are the face of, I mean, especially if you're a solopreneur and you're a service provider. A lot of people are like, I want to be an agency, but careful. Agency is a completely different beast. Agency is a faceless entity with several people behind it. Edward Jones is an agency. Um, so when you look at it from that, when you're a solopreneur, your business, your branding is you. It's your lifestyle. What your services create. I mean, I've watched some very successful health coaches, for example, and all they do is just get on there and show their workouts, their eating plan, but they also show when they screw up and what they do to navigate screw ups. And I think that's, as a business owner, that's your biggest power is to be able to step into, hey, yeah, I fuck up. I mean, and this is what I learned from it. I've made some bad investments. I've gotten scammed. I've gotten, threatened by people. I've had trolls on my stuff. And, even in radio, I mean, the cops will arrive at a radio station in nothing flat. I'll tell you that right now. They will, because we had people coming on. That's how our trolls came to the door. They just comment or something. They came to the damn door. So, I mean, or came to where we were on site. So I learned how to handle people that would sit there and just literally criticize how I talk, criticize how I speak, criticize how I did what I put on the air because I was programming a radio station. So then you go into social media and you've got to understand your trolls are actually helping you. They're helping you create reach by commenting on your stuff. Just ignore them and if they get overly irritating, block them. And I know this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I mean, it's literally being a business owner is having blinders on and going, this is what I'm going to do in my business. Successful business owners, I've noticed they're like, I don't care if that's what every other business does and that's what's successful for them. This is what works for me and this is what I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
having someone there along the way to help you navigate that and make that happen and giving you here's the shit sandwich of all this. So you can make the decision as to whether or not that's the shit sandwich you want to eat because there's going to be one. Pick a flavor because there's going to be one in business. And the thing is though, is when you do sit down and own the strategy that you want to do for one full year, you start to discover how you can serve your clients better and how you can step away from your business and let it work for you. So you can do more focusing on if you're a content creator or your research or whatever it is that puts that momentum, that power behind your services. Because I'm a huge fan of being client focused. I think that's what creates sustainability. There's too many entrepreneurs out there that literally don't ask their paying clients, "Hey, would you like to have a group offer?" Ask them. They're the people that are paying you.
Yeah.
Why not ask the people that are paying you?
Yeah, that's of course. Yeah, this is so true. And when you, I want to talk about, as I mentioned, about about channels or platforms which you use, but also before we move into that, uh, who do you mostly serve, and who
Mostly
are
serve.
who the most? Who are your clients?
My clients are the stressed out, booked out solopreneur. They're the ones that are they've got their clients, they've got consistent clients, but they're ready to go to their next level, reach their next business goal, whether that's 20K months, 30K months, 40K months, 50K months. They're right there at that space where they're saying, okay, I know who and what I need to place in my business, but not quite sure when and how to place them. because there's VAs are very, very helpful, but there's also being clear about what you want that VA to do. There's not wanting to do something because you don't want to do it, and there's not wanting to do something because you don't want to do it, but you know it's beneficial to your business and you know why. Therefore, you can communicate with that person that you're going to hire for that space that you want them to take care of, or that automation tool. You know what you need from it and can communicate that. I can't tell you how many businesses have more than one employee and none of them know what the hell the other one's doing, and they don't know what the business owner wants. They have no idea. And they're just doing what they know to do in general. The basic general things that they know have worked with other businesses. That's all they know to go by. It is imperative, I think, that a business owner not become a content creator or a master social media expert, but understand, where does the money come from? Where does the money come from? And how do I want to take my clients from, seeing me, going, who is this person, to buying my services, to being in my services? And what happens after that? The whole client journey. I think it's very important when you look at that sort of thing. So when I look at a solopreneur who's successful and stressed out, and what I see a lot of them do is they pile more on themselves because they think they have to pile on more to make more. And that's not necessarily true. And it's a recipe for an unsustainable business. I see, it's great that you have big ideas, but a lot of your big ideas actually require a full staff.
Yeah, this, and
And
as
you
you
may not be ready to hire that full staff yet, money wise or just knowledge wise.
Yeah. But sometimes, and most of the time, we need to delegate someone, as you
Mhm.
mentioned, because we cannot do everything alone. As you said, okay, you're a leader, you're a business owner, but you couldn't do content sometimes or do some online stuff. Maybe you can need to engage some VAs or some online business manager, or some
Well,
to
it's
help you to move forward.
I have a little guy who does my funnels. He's exceptionally fast. He's the guy that handles all the little tech things. I know how to do the tech. But tech can slow you down. So I just go, here, dude, here's the copy I want in there, and this is what I want it to do. Can you do that for me? Yes, cool, great. You know, so you can do it that way. It's what takes you more. If you need a copywriter, get a copywriter. Just make sure you know the kind of client that you want. For me, it's that implementer, that solopreneur who's successful. They know what they want to do in business. They have a good plan and they're proactive with their business. They know they have a plan, but they also know the plan's going to fall apart. So they would like to get another pair of eyes on it to help them navigate it, because having two heads is better than one in
And
business. It
and
really
when you
is.
mention in your business, just for our listeners to be clear on that, what is the core what you coach your clients? Because
What
the
the core,
core, like a core of your business to help them.
I help them with leads, sales, and delivery. That's lead generation, it's basically bringing clients into your services in a sustainable manner and selling your services in a clear way. Getting more, the time saver in business is not actually, it is automation. I'm not going to say it's not actually, it is automation and hiring somebody, but it's also bringing in more of your ideal client, because your ideal client makes life easy for you. They do. They just do. I mean, just think about it. When you've got, one child, or let's say, you've got one friend, you've got two friends, one friend is a little bit more needy than the other one, tends to make you late to the party all the time. And you've always got to talk them down from the, and then you got the other friend that's just like, let's just do it, man. Let's go for it. Come on, let's do it. My son talked about, for example, he had, his friends out there, and he was just came inside. He was like, "Oh my God, they have to be told every little step what to do. Oh my God, oh my God." And then this other guy comes up and he's just ready to go. And it doesn't have to do with, those other people were just stupid. It's just the communication was not as good. The vibe, the fit, the way that they communicated with each other was not as good as between him and this other guy. And that's, when you do your services, discovering how to communicate your services to that person is essential. And my person with my core offer, I show you how to communicate your services with confidence, make decisions in your business so that you can scale without burning the engine because you can scale too fast. So that's literally what I do is looking at your lead gen and making sure that the cash flow stays consistent while steadily increasing to the next revenue goal that you're looking at and
And
putting the systems in place to support that.
do you work with clients all around in US or globally?
I've worked with people out of Korea.
Mm,
So I do globally. I've got some people, over in the UK, Australia, everywhere.
yeah.
Most of them US, of course. I mean, you can start out locally and get plenty of clients. I've actually met a lot of business owners in the same space as I am here where I live, just by going to networking events. So I mean, but yeah, I am global. I help Sutton McCraney, who has been on your show. She's a past client of mine. She is considering working with me in the future. I hope she does, but at the same time, we do a little bit of collaborating and stuff like that too. She took on the Scale Without Stress strategy call, and she's one of those proactive solopreneurs. And she had an amazing. I think she's promoting it now with her Moroccan event, the resort in Morocco, which is absolutely stunning. That's a big, big event. There's a lot there. She came to me to talk to me about that. And I told her what the numbers were that she needed to be looking at, what she needed to be concerned about, where she needed to focus to grow her business. And I'm going to tell you something. The thing is because she was being proactive, she had those numbers. And that gave her a little bit of relief. She was like, oh, okay. And I started seeing her, make that plan, started doing that thinking just like a business owner. Instead of, oh, but where do I post? What do I do? She was like, okay, because she had boundaries. She had babies she wanted to take care of. Her children are her top priority, and managing her home is very important to her. And she said, she had boundaries of, I don't want to do challenges. I don't want to do webinars. I don't want to do those things. They feel heavy to me, and she talked to me about a few things. And I said, this is what I felt. I thought to myself, this is what a lot of business owners are going through. It's like, well, do I really have to do all this shit?
Yeah,
I mean,
and
that's what it sounded like to me when she was
regards for
talking to me. I'm like, do I
Saturn,
really have
I
to do all
know
this shit?
her. We collaborated as well, and still, um,
I'm like, well, if you want to do all this shit, here's what you're looking at. And it helped us realize what we could pare away a little bit or table for now or go a little bit slower on things to consider before we walk into it, or before she walks into it, that kind of thing. And I've done that with several clients. One of my most successful clients stayed on with me for almost a year, and we did a combination of organic and paid ads through Facebook and email marketing. And he did a challenge on Facebook, and he was so cool about stuff. He was another proactive. It seems like my best clients are the ones that are proactive versus reactive. He's another proactive owner, and he had been getting consistent clients for a year. He had, I think, almost 20 clients when he came to me and wanted to scale to groups. And he was so reasonable about stuff because he was like, I don't want to do it all at one time. He was like, I want to scale to groups. He said, and then I want to eventually start selling a digital course. And he said, I want to hire somebody within the year as well. And this is who I want to hire. And I'm just going, okay. And he said, I said, well, what is your problem? He said, my problem is I know my long-term goals, but I don't know how to get there. He said, I have an idea. He said, but all I have is a whiteboard and a computer and a way to get paid. And I want to run ads and I need a website. And I was like, well, it's going to take some time to put all that together. But he focused, and he was so funny. He got 40 clients through our work together and created a full suite of offers. He knew before people got on a call with him whether or not they were ready to buy. His conversion rate was through the roof. But at the same time, after he left me, because of the speed that we went on, he contacted me a little while. He said, I'm so sick and tired of staring at the screen. I want to pull away from this. And I was like, that's the problem. We did a lot in 6 months. And he was with me for about 8 to 9 months. We did in 6 months, we did an ad campaign, a website, built an email series funnel. It's supposed to be like, first 3 months, let's see if we just like doing it. Let's
Let's start doing
just see if we can just
together.
do it. And
That's
then we'll go from
lovely.
there.
Yeah. So, and
And
this
he
is
just
some,
jumped in with both feet and just went
uh,
for it and still did it slower than what everybody else would think you would need to go.
and sometimes when you start something like that, you don't know. You start with that, so you have open one door's open, and the other one, and the what in terms that your client you're talking to about, you have done more, like you said, websites and ads and
Yeah, it's like
campaigns.
I look back on it now and I'm like, I should have, now, well, I guess, too, I have more knowledge than I did back then too. I should have, I honestly now I tell my clients, look, if you want to grow in that amount of time, this is what that looks like. And that's a lot. You've got kids to take care of. You've got X, Y, and Z to do. And I have been the type of owner, and I said this in a podcast episode. I probably more than likely would be somebody that would hold sessions from a hospital bed. So I get it about being that type A, go hard, hustle. I mean, I've really had to learn how to pull back the reins, and it really does mess with you to go slow. It does. But when you go slow, you can see the forest for the trees. It's kind of like I have horses. It's kind of like the equivalent when a horse is taking off with you through the woods, you have no idea where the hell you're going. But when the horse is just plodding along, you can kind of get a moment to see where the trail is going. you know? And I feel like business is much the same way as if we go too fast, we start skipping steps, we start missing key things, and then we start seeing, what I've seen with a business that's gone fast is they start missing key things like the support of the client starts to dwindle and starts to lack because they're trying to juggle too much. And then it just starts crashing and folding down. You start seeing clients posting on posts or commenting on posts saying, we're just waiting for you to lower your prices, you know, because of out of desperation and reactionary circumstances, they decided to lower their prices because they had a dip. But what they didn't notice was they had a huge sale just a few weeks ago. It's the micromanaging. It's like watching the stock market. You cannot watch your business's income every second. It will
This
drive
is
you
this is
insane.
not possible. I mean, as you mentioned that. Yeah, and I would love to talk a little bit about your platform. What you
Which
and
one?
you, let's say you mentioned once before we started today's show, that you get back on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And can you share why did you do that? And what were circumstances before you started once and get back again? You
Well,
changed
at one point in
in
time,
your business. Change.
I've been on Facebook since Facebook said hi. Because of course radio was gonna jump on that. Of course they were. I mean that, it just woohoo, yay, more reach, woohoo. That's what we saw. That's what we saw. What we saw was a funnel. And Facebook is a funnel. But after 10 years of watching the online space evolve, I'm seeing a lot of noise that in my opinion is dangerous. I see victimization of the online space is what I'm seeing. And commercialization. It's not that I don't mind the noise. I mean, hell, I worked in radio and listened to commercials all day. I think what it is just wanting to slow down. It's not it. I know people when you're in a space where you're in business, people are going to be selling. That's fine. That's great. But Facebook is a lot of noise when you open up the screen. A lot of noise. And it is kind of losing its there used to be a time when business owners, and I've found a few groups that are still like this, when business owners would just come in and just talk about business, not if you ask a question, then you get somebody wanting to, tell you how smart they are and please, shoot me a DM, let's get on a call bullshit. We don't have those Facebook groups, I don't think anymore. I have my Facebook group. It's got the mini course. It's done amazing things for success. I'm not sure if you've taken it yet or not. I think you may have scanned through it or something, but
Yeah, I'm a member of your group, I mean.
yeah. A few have quite a few in the group have done it, and they've been from different stages of business. But what I notice is my ideal client really gets some value off of it. Maybe a little bit too dangerous for me because then they think that they can go do it on their own. But that's fine. I'm glad that they get results from it. That's great. But I also know that in the long run, you're still going to need that support. But the reason why I moved away from Facebook is I think it's just a season. I think the idea of being able to be on a podcast like I'm doing right now, talking to other business owners during a podcast and collaborating and doing things on YouTube where I used to be. I mean, at one point I was on YouTube, Clubhouse, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. The list keeps going on and on. And that got draining. And then on YouTube back in the day, before we had Riverside and CapCut and all that kind of happy stuff, and AI doing things manually. Oh my God. But I did 20 videos in 3 days because I knew I was going into the hospital to go get surgery. And that's when I said, I can't do it like this. And at that time, Facebook seemed easier because you can lay in a hospital bed and post if you want to. That's how crazy I am. Um, you would think that I would rest and not do that in the hospital, but no. But at the same time, there's also, I think, more boundary with YouTube. There's this more, it's not necessarily a wall, but I think YouTube has a different growth feel. It's slower. Yes, it's slower, but it's not so, I don't know what the word is because we still have the commercialization on YouTube, but I think it's just because you're making literally evergreen content and you can go back through it and optimize it like we were talking about earlier with keyword research and changing the titles and just tweaking the thumbnails, not actually having to redo content constantly. I think that's what it is. That's the appeal to me for YouTube. I mean, you can get that same appeal through blogging and using a website and that kind of thing as well, where you're just repurposing and optimizing it over and over again so that when you do have those inspirational moments, like, for me as a content creator, I have to have that space. I need less noise and more, inspirational moments. Being able to leave, go outside, enjoy my life, come back, do a little market research for about 30 minutes and keyword research for YouTube. The next day, outline a podcast episode, following day, record it, upload it. Yay, back to riding horses again. I mean, hey, last week I did 4 podcast episodes. They are all scheduled on my channel for the Making Business Effortless podcast. It's also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I share what it's like to work with me, what it's like to do the scale without stress. Also talking about just, how to be a business owner, how to own a business without all of this other, it's trauma, it's limiting beliefs, here's all the excuses under the sun why it's not working. And the reason why it's not working is perhaps you're not running your business the way you want to. And that's really why I moved back to YouTube because it just feels, for me, more space. Does that make sense? Even though
Yeah,
I'm still working in
it
my
makes
business, but
sense,
it
really.
feels like there's more space, more breathing room.
And I think that when you're talking about Facebook, and a lot of noise and offers and everything, in YouTube you have much more time to be focused on that and narrowing that, like to be much more focused on your business, to talk about, and you run your podcast. I mean, do you still have your guest speakers on
Yeah.
your? Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
was
You were
once.
recently on.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
on. And by the way, we can also maybe for our clients, for our listeners and clients also, we can
Everybody.
we can use this just to talk about, just to mention that we can use the same account, for example, to create 2 or 3, let's say you have one model like a podcast with guest speakers, but also you can create to add like a new title of your podcast in terms to run your solo. You can use
Oh,
it the
you're
same
talking about on
account
YouTube where you
on
can
YouTube, on
categorize
YouTube,
your topics. Yeah, that also optimizes YouTube,
and
actually. If
create a
you can
playlist
categorize it
and
the way your person would search it, your playlist will show up and
yeah,
rank.
yeah.
So I mean, and I think a lot of people think too that this keyword research, SEO optimization, if we're going to talk about YouTube, you got to get all that done in a day. No, this is ongoing stuff. Market research also goes hand in hand with Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, everything you do, your book, everything. Market research is so vital to understanding how to communicate your services and how you want to communicate your services and where you want, and versus where do I go to find my clients? No, go where you feel comfortable. And that's why when my clients come to me, I'm not like, well, if that's not working out for you, let's try something else. I think that's just a recipe for repeating the same damn pattern. Um, I'm more about let's look at what you're doing and find what helps you flow through it. So for me, when I look at it for me and take my own advice, I think YouTube just gives you that freedom to create that evergreen. You get a chance to really talk about your body of work versus trying to sell it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You get
it
a chance
makes.
to share stories, to show people what your zone of genius is versus doing some kind of ad.
And we know all that YouTube is a second engine after Google.
Yeah, you're talking about SEO
Uh,
specifically. Yeah.
yeah, but
Well,
also
Google
when people
owns
go to
YouTube, so.
research something, you wanted to know about something, how to cut, let's say,
Mhm.
some anyway, some kind of you wanted to create something, or you wanted
You
to
learn how to do anything, you can go on.
whatever, you can go there and
If
find
you need to fix your dryer, you can go on
yes,
YouTube.
and create something you wanted to be a tailor, or you wanted to be, to
Anything. I
start
mean,
with
anything at
something, you
all.
will find something, use it keywords and start learning that for free,
And
of
well, the
course.
thing is YouTube is Google. So I mean, so to say that YouTube's second under Google is like saying Google and Google are first and
Yes,
second.
of course. And yeah, and when you optimize it, it's also optimized in Google as well. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's on
And
like
I don't know if you've noticed
video,
this as well.
video.
This is something that's
Oh,
interesting. If the person has a LinkedIn account, LinkedIn also ranks on Google better than any other social media. I don't know if you've noticed that. It's like Google will give you YouTube videos, of course, but you'll also see that if they have a LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn profile will be listed first before any of the others. And it doesn't matter how active they're on it. What matters is the keywords they're using in it. I may be wrong about this, but I have heard and I'm looking into it, but I think that Google crawls LinkedIn, which that makes sense. Because it is more business platform. It is more not necessarily commercial, but it's where business owners connect for employment, hiring people, all that kind of stuff, as well as, selling their services and connecting with
or
other
if they
business owners.
wanted to
So it
do
makes sense.
B2B or B2C as well, because it's
Huh?
so established platform.
LinkedIn?
Yes, of
LinkedIn is not
professionals.
near as popular as you think it is. Um, it's that the big heavy hitters, I think LinkedIn does rank in the top five. I'd have to recheck, but it's Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Meta dominates. WhatsApp is even up there. Um, but Meta dominates. But LinkedIn, I don't think it's been around as long as we think it has. It's in the grand scheme of things, it's a fairly new platform, but it's evolving. It has places where you can talk about research and share your own research and your own findings and things like that, which is pretty cool. It has more of that people talking about ideas aspect, but you still get hit up in the DMs. It's still kind of expected on LinkedIn, but for some reason it's not near as annoying. Why? I
But
don't know
when
why
when
it's not.
when that platform started, I think that it was so popular. I mean, like it's so established. It was
They're all
many years
popular.
ago.
I mean, they're here. Let's just see here. Top social media platforms. All right, Facebook has 3.07 billion monthly active users, followed by YouTube with 2.5, WhatsApp with 2 billion, Instagram 2 billion, TikTok in at 1, 2, 3, 4. TikTok in at fifth place with 1.5. WeChat follows it, which is a Chinese one. And on down, we have LinkedIn with 500 million. LinkedIn is like at the bottom of this list.
Yes.
Um, but I think it's because it's not really considered social media by the users. The mindset, it has a different personality. I think it's more niched, honestly. Facebook's more generalized and LinkedIn's more niched, which makes sense why it has less users.
Yeah. And what is your experience now with when you're getting back on YouTube, and how do you feel now, you know?
By the way, LinkedIn started in 2002.
My LinkedIn started in 2009,
There it is. Now we know. So,
many years
um,
ago.
and what it feels like for me, because I really thought about it before I switched from Facebook back to YouTube, and I discovered Riverside is what happened. I was on StreamYard for a while, and then I started looking at Riverside, and I started focusing on my podcast and just making episodes because it's common that people drop off on their podcast episodes after, especially, after 20 episodes, most are just done, right? And very few get past like 6 episodes. But I was like, do I want to? Do I really want to? And I started realizing I'm really good at speaking and I can talk forever, obviously. But it's the way that I communicate. It just works within how I like to do things, plus the way that I provide my services to my clients. I feel like I need to be more in front of them and show them how I think about business, what the results that I've created, and how I talk about business with other people. I think YouTube highlights that better than Facebook because it is evergreen. I get a chance to really, my potential clientele get a chance to kind of be there and see me in their own privacy of their own homes without being pressurized into anything. They know where the link is. It's always in the show, it's always in the description. They can click it when they're ready. I think with Facebook, there's more of that drive push, oh, look, so and so's selling, this is happening, that's happening. I better get out there and do it too. Whereas YouTube's quieter. You don't get a lot of that distraction noise of somebody else. So look, they're doing that. I better do it too. Because no matter how successful you are, I think you still get pulled and sucked a little bit into that. Look what oh, they're marketing. I better do it too because it's competition. I mean, business is competitive. It just is. And I think Facebook just barrages you with that a little too much for where I am right now it served me well and I'm still doing my group, but honestly, I just want to go and have podcasts and horses.
Yeah, you have much more time because you create what you want, show up,
Hmm.
upload that video and move, and just people. And I was researching something that about YouTube algorithm, and it says when you run your own video, like
Hmm.
with some topic and whatever, you overcome algorithm, and then algorithm works for you because
Hmm.
just sending your
What
videos to
YouTube
right people
wants.
who necessarily want
Hmm.
to listen your new videos and
Right.
get advice
Every
and
platform has a
follow
certain way.
what you do. And
Yeah, every platform has a certain way. So with YouTube, okay, so we have the top of the funnel of YouTube and we have the top of the funnel of Facebook. For Facebook to get new people, it's real stories, DMs, friend requests, right? To get new people on YouTube, it's keyword research and shorts. They added shorts, right? But another way is to comment on other people's videos and create that kind of network. But you're not going to get hit up in the DMs If you do have somebody that's, you're invariably going to have a bot comment. I mean, they're everywhere. Just, whatever that they are. Um, I think it's just that feeling of you can walk away from your content. You don't have to hover over it. On social media, it's like, oh, I posted. Let's wait for everybody to DM me now. Whereas on YouTube, it's like, okay, I did some content. I've got my link out there. They can book if they want to. If they don't, they can keep on watching. It's that lean back energy in sales that I like versus they get in. I mean, LinkedIn is direct sales. It is. I don't mind direct sales, but I'm more of a client attraction type than I am that, go out there, call 100 people every week. I had a client that was excellent at that. He called 100 people every week, every week.
And do you
And
think
but
that
his,
you do
and he
it
was
like
really
a
good at that.
cold
Huh?
call? Do you think that your client does cold calls or
Oh
just
yeah, I know he does. Yeah, yeah, I know he does. Um, and he was really good at that. But what we did was I started helping him. It's cold calling is a really great way to go ahead and get the money quick, but you can also use the information that you get from your people to expedite that process. Or you can hire an appointment setter. I mean, that's literally what that's about. But for him, he would get them into the DMs and then he would have these long conversations. And he was like, I can't get them off there quick. He could make the sale, but he would like to see it a little bit faster conversion. And so we worked on that. And where he could switch from DMs and all of that and holding calls and everything, where he could switch was what I did is, you can have an application process or you can just simply send them to your landing page. For me, you can sign up for the Scale Without Stress strategy call, for example, 90-minute call. We sit down, take a look at your business strategy, or if you're doing an event, say like a challenge or something, or you want me to look at your offer. You have something specific in your business that you want to look at, or you just want me to look at the overall client acquisition process in your business, tell you, what to look for, pros and cons, where to, look out for different things along the way. But at the same time, during that 90-minute call, you have the option to work with me for 90 days, and I'll help you implement that plan. I'll stand by your side and help you make the decisions as you work through your plan. But, you also have the option not to do that. And I think YouTube offers that kind of freedom to allow your client to qualify themselves and for you to be able to sit back in that space of, like you said earlier, well, I got my video up there. It's not coming down ever. I mean, there's videos that are, 7 years old on YouTube, so it's not ever going to come down. And, if you've got that good traditional content, that content that your ideal client always seems to talk about, the core of how you support them, for me, like I said, it's lead sales delivery. Um, when you have that, your content becomes that evergreen quality versus
and this
following
is
trends
why
and all of
you
that.
mentioned a few times evergreen, because
Huh?
you put something and when you mention evergreen because you have done you can go to the YouTube and see that there are people what they um put it there 10 years ago or
Hmm.
15 years ago
And
or
it's still
7.
relevant. That's the really cool
Yes.
thing is when the content is still
And this
relevant.
is who am I,
Yeah.
when people just say, okay, this is me before, and you can see how some of your clients just,
Hmm.
you know, if
You know
they
what else
want.
is pretty cool though is, like Facebook, you don't get a chance to do this as much unless it tells you your memories. And sometimes those memories really don't
And you can
give
see
you
that
much
on
of a viewpoint, but
Facebook,
you can
we
see
don't
your
have
evolution on
still
YouTube.
live. They just cancel down, like
You know
normal
what?
people who on Facebook who have done uh, live in their groups. I
Oh,
think that
where they're
is
deleting it.
yes,
I think
but
what that is, and this is just from things that I've read, I don't know. We have to wait. Meta does a lot of things. But I mean, when they were doing the privacy stuff and adding new stuff for their ads, it was like, oh God, now what? Um, one thing you got to understand about Meta is it is tech. So, first of all, like we discussed earlier, billions of people are on Facebook. And if everybody not everybody, but I mean, look at the amount of people that do go live on Facebook. That takes up some space on their platform. And so, of course, they're going to delete some of that. But I also saw where they're going to give you the option to be able to download and possibly edit and do kind of what you do on YouTube, on Facebook. And that's going to take them time to get that in place and be able to handle the amount of people that they have on that platform, because YouTube is web based. You can serve a lot more people through a web based, service. It just, the bandwidth is better, but I think that Facebook's just watching out, trying to make sure. I'm trying to look at the positive, because honestly, I don't think for a business to be around as long as Facebook, I don't think that he would be doing things that would destroy his business.
Yes, of course. Yeah, but many people,
And it's trying to
billions
do
of
everything that
people.
he can to make sure that his
Yeah,
business continues to run. And we may
yeah,
not like those decisions,
yeah,
but your decisions are not necessarily the big pulling point that makes him say,
yeah.
yeah, that's what I need to do in order to keep this thing going.
So when you mentioned YouTube, I want to, before maybe we talk today, it's such a lovely show today with you, Leah. And
I know we've talked for quite a while. We
yeah,
always
and when you
do.
mentioned, for example, can you share with us about, for example, there are people who wanted to monetize their podcast, and let's say they need 1,000 subscribers that YouTube can
This
pay
is
them
YouTube
for.
specific,
Yes,
yes.
but also how, from your experience, how people, for example, that you run your podcast and some of companies wanted to show up and to as ad that your podcast is spaced where they can advertise,
Oh, you mean monetizing it through
monetizing.
advertising?
Yes.
With YouTube, the one thing about monetizing YouTube is it's two aspects. You got to get 1,000 subscribers, but you also have, I think it's 1,000 watch time hours, or it may have changed. I haven't looked at it in a while, and I honestly don't care.
This is
Um,
metrics also. Just for listeners to get to know about it, what
yeah,
they
I mean, the thing is with YouTube, I think you can look it up. Monetizing on YouTube, it's easy. It's actually easier to get to the 1,000 subscribers than it is to get to the watch time requirement, and you have to meet that requirement every time to be qualified for monetization. Every year, you have to meet that requirement. That's a lot of pressure. So on top of that, some of them have posted how much they make off of being monetized on YouTube, and it's literally like $5. I made $5 today. So if you actually want to monetize YouTube, if you're looking to make money off of YouTube and not just, I want to get ads, because it's not going to make enough if you want to live off of YouTube, is to sell your services through YouTube, make offers through YouTube, seed what you do inside your content. You don't have to make a pitch, just talk to people about your services like we did today. Um, but I think with a podcast, when you're growing it, that's where you really have to sit back and not get too hung up on those numbers, because it'll drive you freaking insane. But my clients, I stopped my YouTube channel at 920 subscribers. I was this close, 80 people away from 1,000 subscribers, and I went, I'm walking away. I'm going to go do Facebook. I'm going to go focus primarily on Facebook, right? And now I'm back, and I know that coming back out of that, it's going to take some time to get that momentum back. Because as far as YouTube's concerned, my channel's been dead. So it is what you said before. It's going back to that consistency, putting in the content, doing the keyword optimization, doing the keyword research, but where you get that keyword from. This is how my client monetized and got 1,000. It didn't, he wasn't even trying. Got 1,000 subscribers. He annoyed me. He was so annoying. I was like, God, you do better than I do. I hate you. But but it was a great lesson. But I was extremely honored to help him. Because he taught me a lot and he learned a lot from me. But that being said, what he did is he went into the groups where he knew his clients were hanging out and looked to see what the frequently asked questions were. And that's what he based his content off of. And he only did 2-minute videos and freaking monetized that sucker in a year.
That's lovely. Leah, we talked to, I asked you many questions, and I really love this episode today. So, do you have something for our listeners? Maybe some kind of freebie or some ebook or
Oh, there's
checklist, and
so
also
many,
share with
so
us
many things.
about your website. I will put all links,
Put it all in that.
all in that people can
Put it all
connect with
in that.
you.
So if you really want to get to know, I am back over on YouTube, the Making Business Effortless podcast, Leah Sparrow.
And this
You
is the
can search me
name
those ways
of
on
your
YouTube.
YouTube channel,
I
Lea Sparrow.
changed it on YouTube to
I will put all
youtube.com/
links
making
about.
business effortless, I believe. Um, it should show up if you put in the Making Business Effortless podcast, but I'm not sure. But you can also type in Leah Sparrow and you will find me on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So
I'm still getting it, it's
it's
still,
so punctual.
excuse my
So don't,
dust, but we're
you
growing.
will finally just type Lea Sparrow and you will find.
You'll find me. Seriously,
Yes.
if you
And
search Leah
you are
Sparrow, you'll
also
freaking find
present on Facebook
me.
and Instagram and
Yeah,
LinkedIn as well.
Facebook and YouTube. But on Facebook, inside my group, it is for successful, overwhelmed solopreneurs. But I have the get set up to book 2 to 4 clients. This is for all levels of business. It's helped many different levels. It's basically walking you through how to review your current business strategy, your clients, your offer, your pricing, all of that. And you go through it yourself and do your own little business audit. And then discover how to, where you can have the time and space to do this and create some breathing time for yourself and whatnot, just to get
And
it
do you have
done.
a link for that so that
Huh?
people can connect with this link, or people or
Yes, I do.
listeners
It's
can?
the get
Oh,
set up to book 2 to 4 clients is on Facebook. It's the Effortlessly Booked Community. That's where you'll find it. That's the name of it. If you search the Effortlessly Booked Community, you'll find it. The
this is your
cover
group.
page
This is your group
is
or page. It's a group.
it's a group. It's a group. The cover page for the group says Community for Successful Overwhelmed Solopreneurs. But if you type in Effortlessly Booked Community, you will find it, and that is where the free mini course is right now.
Yeah. And this is, dear listeners,
At this time, during
this
this
is gift for
recording.
you. This is Leah's course, so just go to.
Yeah. It's a
I
great
will,
course. I've got a lot of people that have gotten a lot of clarity
I
and
will put
like how
link
I walk
there
them through it.
also.
Yeah.
And do you have your website as well? I mean.
Yeah, it's leasparrow.com.
Yeah, so Leah, you shared amazing story today. It was such a like a master class to talk about.
A little bit. I am always like a little bit of a master class. I mean, there's also the Scale Without Stress strategy call, which is leasparrow.com/scale without stress. You can check out that 90-minute call. It is like a VIP day. We'll sit down, take a look at your strategy. I will tell you exactly where to focus and what to do over the next 90 days in your business so you can bring in clients and have a business that works for you so you can live your freaking life.
And listeners can also connect with you for strategy session call or free conversation
Well,
call,
the strategy session
consultation.
called is a paid event. The 90-minute call is a paid event. If you want to know what it's like to work with me, there's the Effortlessly Book Community. The mini course gets set up to book 2 to 4 clients, which it walks you through similarly what we would do in the Scale Without Stress strategy call. But you're doing it on your own. I can bring you a lot more clarity and a lot more about where you need to focus if you have something more specific inside your business that you want looked at, because you're given general advice inside that mini course. But you can also follow the Making Business Effortless podcast. And I'm deep diving into this month is 5 steps coming out this Thursday. That's March 20th. 5 steps solopreneurs can do to break 20K months. Also going to be going over scaling with group offers and pricing your group offer and things you should know about selling a group offer. And also I have an interview with Sutton McCraney coming out next week.
Well, that's lovely. And before we ramp up, what would be like a final message for our listeners? This is question what I always like my special guest speakers. If they wanted to start business or they wanted to change something, or maybe they are stuck, just to encourage them to move forward and also to connect with Leah. She will help you a lot.
Well, I think one of the things is if you find yourself asking a lot of questions on social media and you're tired of hearing the same spiel, know your niche, do this, do that, and you want somebody to tell you something different, because I've been there. I have been there where I have a book with 53 funnels in it. So the thing is in order to inspire you, go out there and take risks. Business is risk. You've already taken a risk by making the decision to become an entrepreneur. The only way you're going to learn anything is to invest in what you are wanting to learn right now. And honestly, 9 times out of 10, what you need is a business strategist. Straight up business strategist, not somebody going, this is what you need to build your business off of, but somebody that will sit down with you and go, okay, this is where you are. This is the business model you're looking at, and these are the pros and cons of this business model. These are the numbers you need to look at, and these are the numbers that are your goal over the next 30 days. Somebody that will give you something that is doable for you and pay attention to your schedule and your lifestyle. I believe we have a business living in our home. It needs to work with our lifestyle. And so, there's what Alex Hermosi can do, and then there's what Sutton McCready can do. And both are and what Kristina can do, and what Leah can do, and what any other, and what Amy Porterfield can do in a day with our businesses. It's not one thing, it's your thing. And that's what I help you discover. So if you want to learn more about how to work with me, you can check out the Scale Without Stress strategy call. If you're not quite ready to make an investment, the Get Set Up to Book 2 to 4 Clients is a great way to get to know my methods of teaching business owners how to navigate their decisions in business and how to scale and put in the systems they need, as well as my Making Business Effortless podcast. You can find out a lot about me through those efforts. And whenever you're ready, you can go to leasparrow.com/scale without stress.
Leah, it was such an amazing show today. I really enjoyed it, and it was like not just only show, it was like a masterclass, as I said. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for sharing your experience. And I really, really enjoy, and I think that if we want to inspire only one listener, that will be fantastic for our
Yeah, just get out there. I
children.
mean,
Yeah.
if you're scared of taking that step forward, remind yourself the last time you were scared and did it anyway.
So if
You
you're in
know,
stock and wanted to scale something and want to start, just go connect with Leah and she will help you.
and do it messy as fuck. I'm all
Yeah.
about
Just go to the
what's the
YouTube and
path of
just
least
type
resistance?
Lea
Because
Sparrow.
done equals cash, perfection equals procrastination. You got to get it done. You got to get out there. You
Yeah.
got to make offers. You got to trip, stumble, fart along the way. And you will find what works for you. It takes time, and in having a mentor by your side, especially me, having a mentor by your side, it will bring more speed because two heads are better than one. It's not that I know more than you. It's that I've had my own experiences. I'm a little bit ahead of you. I've seen other businesses. I study business for a living, so you don't have to.
Yeah. Leah, thank you so much. And I see you very soon in new episode. When you
Okay.
have something to share it, I would love to see you again. Thank you so much and have a lovely day and regards to your team, to your family, whatever. And so thank you again. And see
Thank you,
you
Christina.
again soon. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.